Okay. It is 6:01 p.m. on February 25th, so I will call the meeting to order of the City Council of Manhattan Beach with a pledge to the flag. Could we have Chief Johnson, could you lead us in the pledge?
All right, want to place the flag? Place your right hand over your heart. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call.
Councilmember Franklin?
Here.
Councilmember Tarnay?
Here.
Councilmember Sherillian?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Lesser?
Here.
Mayor Howard?
Here. Okay. Oh, let me get to the right screen. I need an approval of the agenda. Excuse me.
Bless you.
It has been moved by Councilman Tarnay and seconded by Councilmember Franklin. I'll call for the question. Okay.
Motion passes 5-0.
Councilman, or Mayor Pro Tem Lesser, do you remember when we were first on council? We didn't have any of this, and so we couldn't vote like that, and in order to be called upon, we had to do this and stand up, and
Correct.
I just want
And
to
you're
say, back
saying
in
this
the old
is
days.
an improvement?
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay, are there any public comments in chambers? Does anyone from the public like to make a comment? Seeing none, how about on Zoom?
No request on Zoom.
Okay. With that, I sort of want to kick us off. Tonight, we're going to be looking at reviewing the current fiscal year 24-25 City Council work plan and the development of the 25-26 work plan. And, this is a format for which I think the city has used for a few years. And as we go through it, we will probably have questions, et cetera. I want to encourage, this is also a time, in my eyes, for if council members have new items or new ideas that they would like to perhaps think about for the coming year and beyond. I'd like us to have time to be able to do that. One thing, I'll just say this in general, and I'm kind of exposing myself here in that I've always been a little confused as to why we call it a city council work plan, because none of us are actually doing any of the work. But maybe it works for everybody, so let's go through it and see how we feel about it. And I'm going to raise something now that we can talk about later, which is, you're all aware that I go around and work with city councils on governance, strategic plans and work plans, and it just seems that we have not had some sort of strategic planning session in a long time, since the last time I think you and I were on pre-2017 at least. And so I'll talk about that more later, but I just want to kind of lay that out there as coming attractions. So with that, Madam City Clerk, will you, or whomever, or is it Patty? What? Not City Clerk, City Manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
City's confused.
Patty, Senior Management Analyst Patty Matson, sorry, will kick us off in the presentation, and then we will have each one of the department heads come up and present their department items. And I would encourage the council to ask questions, through the presentation, so that it could be an effective and productive discussion. And again, to your point, Madam Mayor, about why is it called a City Council work plan? Patty will go into that in her presentation. And again, I would look at it as City Council priorities, but we will help with some definitions in the beginning of the presentation.
Okay.
So
I hope it might
that will
work for everybody else, and that's groovy. Let's just keep in mind what we're looking at. And again, as you said, feel free to ask questions as we're going. Right?
Yep.
Okay, take it away.
going backwards. There we go. Okay. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. As mentioned, we're going to be going over the 24-25 work plan and the development of the 25-26 work plan as well. And the City Council work plan showcases council's priorities for the coming 12 to 18 months. And as mentioned by City Manager Mirzakanian and the Mayor, this is an opportunity to review the plan, reprioritize, or decide if you'd like to carry forward or modify any items, or potentially remove or add new items. The plan for the evening is to have each department provide the following: a selection of notable accomplishments and department work plan items from the comprehensive list that were provided in the staff report or attached to the staff report, their department's top 3 priorities for the year, a review of existing items currently on the City Council work plan, and staff recommendations, if any. Currently, management services and community development each have a few. We'll then move on to the development of the 25-26 work plan, and the final version of the work plan is set to return for adoption at the May 20th City Council meeting.
Excuse me, could I just ask
Please.
a question with regard to how we're going to proceed tonight?
Mm-hmm.
To the extent that council members might have suggestions to add items, at what point would it be helpful with regard to how you've laid out your presentation to make those recommendations?
Since we have it structured by department, we could go department by department if that's helpful.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, what I would say is, after the department's given us their items, then we turn it over and say, okay, council, yeah. Okay? Good question, thank you.
And just to discuss the layout of the City Council work plan, each work plan has a page that looks like this. It has a title and summary of each item with a brief background, as well as some quick facts, including target due dates, any funding sources, project priority levels, and the involvement of any other departments or commissions. And it also includes completed and pending actions for the item and any next steps in terms of City Council action. And so to help facilitate the process and the development of the new work plans, we wanted to provide some clearer definitions of City Council work plan versus a department work plan, which we'll be using going forward. And so a City Council work plan is a document that outlines the key priorities and projects that City Council directs staff to focus on over a specific period of time, which is typically the fiscal year, and may require many hours of staff time or substantial financial resources, high community involvement or community interest, or have a significant impact on city operations. And currently, the City Council work plan has 23 items on it. A department work plan is a document that consists of new, ongoing, or state-mandated efforts that staff is dedicating significant time and resources to that are not on the City Council work plan, but are required for regular operations. And the document is not intended to showcase each department's full day-to-day operations. And it's less structured than the City Council work plan. We attach it as a list that you received, and it doesn't provide the same layout that I just went over. And there are currently 82 items on the department work plan that staff has identified. So to begin the department presentations, I'll begin with management services. And some of our recent notable accomplishments include a successful November 2024 general municipal election, the completion of a comprehensive review and update of the Boards and Commissions Handbook, as the previous update occurred in 2017. Our communications team developed an ocean protection campaign to raise public awareness of the city's stormwater projects, which even included a 7-part educational video series that they created, and it's going to be featured at the Earth Day event the city is planning to host. And lastly, the success of the Measure MMB sales tax initiative, which would generate an estimated $5 million in funding for essential services. To discuss a few department work plan items, staff is working to make enhancements to the municipal code, including the addition of the local coastal program, and a potential request for proposals to recodify the code is being considered. Maintenance of our homelessness initiatives, including managing our agreement with our homeless outreach navigator and researching funding opportunities. Review of legislation impacting the city that conforms with our legislative platform and includes bringing those bills to our legislative ad hoc subcommittee for potential support or opposition. And our communications team, in partnership with our Public Works Department, is working on communication with businesses and residents regarding the implementation of the state-mandated cross-connection water safety ordinance and program. And our communications team is also actively planning the State of the City with the Chamber of Commerce, which will occur on April 29th. And to just provide management services top 3 priorities for the year, we're going to be focusing on supporting City Council in the development of initiatives and policies, enhancing the City Clerk's Office online platforms to improve user experience and accessibility, which includes the portal to submit Public Records Act requests and our records management system. And we'll also be
Question?
Yes.
Where are your priorities spelled out? Are they in this?
Each department is going to provide them verbally to council.
Okay, so could you start again so that we
Yeah,
could?
absolutely, sure. So supporting council initiatives, or the development of initiatives and policies. Enhancing City Clerk's Office online platforms to improve user experience and accessibility, and that includes our portal for public records requests and our records management system. And then prioritizing transparency, information sharing, and proactive outreach to keep residents and businesses informed and engaged through our communications team.
And would proactive outreach like also include social media, stuff like that? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, great, thank you.
So to go over the 3 items that are currently under management services for the City Council work plan, we have the City Council Governance Policy and Manual, and staff is currently reviewing and refining a draft of that manual, and it's going to be provided to council upon its completion. And for enhancing the city website and email communications, the email communications portion of this item has been completed with the implementation of GovDelivery in 2023. And the design and overall aesthetic of the website has been determined. And now staff is focusing on moving existing content over to the new website in a way that's going to make sense and enhance the overall user experience. And lastly, the homeless court diversion program. As you know, after many attempts with the DA's office to receive consent for in-house homeless court or the use of Redondo beaches, the city decided to pursue and support Assembly Bill 2309, which would allow general law cities to prosecute state misdemeanors. This could have been utilized for a future diversion program, but unfortunately was not passed by the state legislature. And so the next council action for this item would need to be determined.
And it could be, as we'll hear, I'm sure, from one of my colleagues, I mean, this could be a very different thing now. Maybe we're trying since there's different, people involved. Okay.
Potentially. And so staff does have recommendations for 2 of our work plan items. And considering that there's no further city council action items and that the major decision points have been completed for the enhancements to the city website and email communications, staff is recommending moving it to the department work plan. And staff will continue collaborating internally with other departments to finalize and complete that upgrade. And then regarding homeless court diversion, if there's no further direction from council to pursue this item, we would recommend either marking the item as complete and removing it from the city council work plan, or move it to the existing homelessness initiatives department work plan item to potentially read maintenance of ongoing homelessness initiatives, including seeking funding and homeless court opportunities.
And that is on the department work plan for the management services? Okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay. So let me ask so this is a moment where I think it's a good time to ask my colleagues. If you can put, your staff recommendations back up. I just want to point out, so enhancing the city website and email communications, you're going to move that to department work plan because that's just ongoing and we don't need to say, keep doing that, you're doing that.
Yes.
Homeless court diversion, we should probably discuss and discuss what we want staff to do. But we can also, at this time, I believe I could, if I wanted to say, listen, I want you guys to put pink carpet in the city manager's office, which who doesn't think that's a great idea? But this would be the good time to, if we had things about management services that we thought this is where we could talk about it.
Yes.
Okay. So I turn to my colleagues, and I'm prepared to, if anybody has anything under this particular piece, management services. And I'm asking about homeless court diversion. Maybe I'm making too big of a deal about it. I don't think we should mark the item as complete. Councilmember Lesser?
I have I have a preliminary request on the city website, if I could, for Patty.
You may?
That is to do, there is a subcommittee. I served on it with the mayor, and then now I believe Councilmember Tarnay serves with the mayor on the website refresh subcommittee. So can you confirm what its current status is, particularly if it's going to be moved to the department work plan?
So the subcommittee still does exist. Yeah, please.
Happy to tag in here. So the city's website refresh project is still ongoing. What we're trying to do right now, as you know, as a subcommittee member, we signed off on the wireframe, which is really like the bones of the website, and then we came up with a design for the website. But before we proceed further, which the next step would really be moving all of the content that's on our current website onto the new one and deciding where things go, we paused so that we could amend the Granicus contract to include an information architecture component
Oh, yes.
so that they could help us with really enhancing the user experience so that people can find what they need to find immediately rather than taking several minutes to dig through 5 sub-menus to find what they're looking for. And we have a lot of content. We have a wealth of information on our website, which is amazing. Our staff has done an incredible job of keeping that up to date and putting all that information on there. So we want to make sure that whatever we move to the new website really needs to be there, is informative, and is in the correct place. But we have really our marching orders on that, and we're going to continue with that. It's really just a
Great.
matter of getting that amendment.
Go ahead.
I just wanted, if anything, be an advocate for the council members that are, and the mayor who's serving on this committee, just to see that they still have a role in this, or has been deputized to stay.
I mean, I trust that but thank you, but man, am I thrilled to hear the information architecture has been the thing since the beginning, where we've always said, how come we can find stuff more easily from Google or Chrome, and you can't find anything. And this is a big deal, and it's complicated, so I imagine, when you're ready for us to come back in, we'll step in.
Absolutely. We're just about ready to have a workshop, and after that workshop, we'll loop you guys in as
Great.
subcommittee members, and we'll be able to
Great.
begin the next step.
Thank you. And then on to the second item, the homeless court diversion. I'm happy to move this either to a department work plan or take it off the work plan, because it doesn't appear that we're going to be successful. And if anything, I think we're focused on other items related
Okay.
to the homelessness.
Okay, I'll take that. I want to,
But I want to hear from a colleague.
yeah, I'm looking to you, Councilmember Franklin, just because I know that you were involved at some point, and I know, I guess what I want to know from you is, do you want us to go to the new district attorney and try to get this, or what do we want to do with this item?
Well, I think we
What
need
do you want to do?
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think what we want to do is we want to take the opportunity to meet with the new district attorney, Nathan Hockman, see what his thoughts are, because primarily we were going to the homeless court because we weren't getting any participation from the previous district attorney, Gascon. So I had a chance to talk to him several times during his campaign, explain what we needed, what we were doing, why we were trying to work with, Mike Webb, at Redondo Beach. So I would really like to have the opportunity to, approach we can do an ad hoc, subcommittee to do that, to talk with Nathan Hockman, to talk to some of his associates. Actually, Councilmember Lesser, you're being too modest. You actually did get us going in that department due to your prior relationships with the deputy district attorney who allowed us to, stockpile or aggregate chronic issues with homeless, well-known homeless individuals that were causing, big problems for our residents. So I think that's worthwhile approaching. We don't have to go to Sacramento and try to work our way through, Chief, even though we had a good time in Sacramento. So we don't have to go to Sacramento and try to get that to get a change from there. So we have a more reasonable voice now. And then also, too, I would like to consider going with the homeless court diversion program, because remember, both Redondo Beach and Hermosa Beach. Hermosa Beach has state misdemeanor prosecution services from Redondo Beach because it was grandfathered in. And what we were sort of seeing at the time, envisioning at the time, is there would be a Manhattan Beach, Hermosa Beach, Redondo Beach kind of symmetry and
Synergy.
well, synergy, but you know, a homeless individual in any one of those cities and moving between them would get the same type of opportunity for diversion.
Okay,
So-
let me suggest this. It also sounds like there's a couple things wrapped up in it. There's a homeless court diversion, but there's also the local prosecutorial aspect that isn't always related to homelessness. We certainly can't mark the item as complete. Do we keep it, I think, for what we're trying to figure out is we keep it on it's a city council priority. I think we can keep it as a priority to keep those conversations going, to figure out where we are in
Right.
that. So I would call that a city council priority still, right? And I see direction, and I
Madam
think,
Mayor,
yes.
well, just one quick input. I'm not a big fan of the target date of TBD when we're doing a 25, 26. So can we put a timeline on the diversion program, since this is a one-year work plan?
I think we could put a timeline for meeting with, and, it may not be finished.
Sure, but something with end date.
Right, and I think it also depends on staff time. We have to give ourselves a little bit of grace because of budget and negotiations and things that are going on. But do we want to, sometime by the fall, have started stuff, or?
I mean, it's the 25, 26
I don't
work
know.
plan, so if you do a quarterly, you can do first quarter of 26. I'm not saying it needs,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to expedite it, I'm just trying
Okay.
to put a timeline so it doesn't say TBD, because
Yeah, that's great.
And
To be
we had
completed
switched
by-
it, we had switched it to be determined just because we weren't sure of city council
Of course,
direction
yeah,
for this
All
item.
right, so
Yeah.
first quarter of, you said 2026?
I just threw that out there if that's okay with staff.
Well, in terms of what, it being completed?
In terms of having an answer, they may say,
Oh.
the answer may be we can't do it. In terms of, we may be starting it, but you will have had meetings or done some work on it?
Well, my sense is we're going to have an answer pretty quickly,
I was just being conservative with the
Yeah.
time.
Let's be
It could be-
conservative.
yeah.
So do you have a date in mind?
Do I have a date in mind?
Yeah.
Madam
Well,
Mayor?
Yes.
Sorry, just based off of what we're able to come back with, we might be able to come back with a timeline at that point in time.
Oh, okay, so maybe in May, so you're hearing us talk, right? We're going to keep this on as a priority, then you could come back with a timeline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
And
helpful,
update
because
it.
for us to spitball up here doesn't make a whole lot
Yeah.
of sense.
But, yeah, because just remember, if the county prosecutor, the district attorney is going to prosecute like he is supposed to be prosecuting, it'll all fall into place very quickly. We won't
Hope
even need
so.
Redondo Beach, except for the homeless
That's
court.
great, that's great, but I'm not going to put, until we understand what we're doing here, that's
Right.
what we're talking about. Okay.
Mayor? I
Yes.
just had a quick question for
Yeah.
Ally. Ally? Real quick question. On the website, the target date shows Q1 of 26. Is there more of a milestone, like, in between here and there? I know you're working hard on it, and
Yeah.
we're moving into the department plan. I
Yeah.
just want to kind of understand, like, what's the next milestone?
The next big milestone is for us to complete the information architecture workshop, which has been scheduled. So we're on track with that. But then really the hard work begins of coordinating with the departments and going through what information is on the website, what information needs to be moved over, what is required to be on there, what shouldn't be on there, and really going through
Yeah.
every page of the website, and we have thousands of pages. So it's kind of hard to give a milestone other than now we have the information architecture amendment done, so we can get the services from Granicus so they can kind of help us through that.
That's fair.
And, the first quarter of 2026, we hope to be through all of this, but it's a big undertaking.
It's a big
I get it.
undertaking.
Thank you.
Thank you. And, maybe we could have a report or a briefing note at some point. We had the workshop, we met with them, and it's going to take longer than we thought, or not, whatever, just a little bit of information.
Absolutely. We can definitely, I can put together a briefing note, and I am really excited to share with you what it looks like or what we're hoping it's going to look like. It's beautiful, it's modern and fresh and simple and clean, and it really aligns with our branding. I think it's going to be a great change for us.
Nice.
But we'll get there. It's just
I believe it.
going to be a lot of coordination between the departments.
Great. And I want to say, I appreciate the management services priorities of supporting council initiatives, improving the city clerk online platform, transparency, user, blah, blah, blah. And then prioritizing transparency and proactive outreach. I think we're all about proactive outreach. We live in a time when, it's hard to keep up. We see something on social media and I'm like, wait, I said what? And so the more we can be proactive and put out information that is useful, and I know, Ellie, you are trying really hard as doing everything. So proactive, I love it. All right, anything else about management services before we move on? Oh, and if you, yep, what?
Just to clarify, are we comfortable moving the city website to the department work plan?
Yes.
Okay.
I am. Yeah, that makes sense, again, because so we identified it as a priority. It is in process. It's over there now. We don't have to keep saying it's a priority. It's a priority. You're making it happen. Okay?
Thank you.
All right.
Next, we'll be moving on to finance.
Are we all good with how this is flowing, the process?
Yes.
Excellent. Tell me if you're not.
Good evening. My name is Libby Bredhauer, the Financial Services Manager, and I'm happy to present on behalf of the Finance Department tonight. So we're going to start with highlighting some accomplishments over the last year. So over the last several years, we've actually been prioritizing modernization and technology upgrades in our department. And we implemented our Munis ERP system in 2021, but in the last year, we had our first major version upgrade. And what may sound like a simple upgrade actually requires significant testing and data validation. So it took considerable time for all of our team. But with the help from our colleagues in IT, we're happy to say that the version upgrades all went smoothly for our ERP system, which also includes the general ledger, payroll, utility billing, and our cashiering system. So some of our other big priorities in the last year were to streamline customer payments and processing. And so we implemented a new customer self-service portal for accounts receivable billing. And most recently, we implemented a new business licensing software. And we emailed and mailed the business license renewals on February 7th. And we're happy to say that since that date, we've had already 1,000 renewals processed and collected about $850,000 in revenue. And just to compare it to the prior year when we were only mailing the renewals and doing a lot of manual processing of the renewals, last year we processed 700 renewals and collected about $450,000 in revenue in a similar time period.
Great.
And the last item we wanted to highlight was that our accounting division has completed the first phase of implementing our financial statement builder software. And this will help streamline the back and forth we do with our auditors every year as we prepare our financial statements and ultimately our annual financial comprehensive report. So our department work plan items. The first item is we've been working on a comprehensive user fee and cost allocation plan. This is, although finance is leading the effort, it's really all departments with fees are assisting in this process and doing a lot of heavy lifting as well. We expect to present the draft to the finance subcommittee next week and then to city council in March. We also have more technology implementations in the works, including a transparency portal. And we're also looking at systems to do online processing and payments for transient occupancy tax, including short-term rental operators, and also animal licensing. Another project we are starting to work on are potential updates to finance-related municipal code sections, and this could include the business license and transient occupancy tax regulations. And now that we have our new grants and financial analyst position filled, we will be re-envisioning how we track and communicate on the city's grants. So we look forward to bringing some more efficiencies to that area.
Wait a minute. Oh, that's where that is. Okay.
Oh, sorry, yeah. And lastly, we're working to create what's called a Popular Annual Financial Report, or PAFR, as it's known in government finance, to increase our financial transparency. So this document will be similar to the budget snapshot document that condenses our 400-page budget to 4 pages. So our goal will be to make the ACFR, our Annual Comprehensive Financial Report, condensed down to few pages to help it to be more easier to understand.
But will we still get all the backup? So if we're...
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Well, absolutely.
Okay.
We can't get out of doing the ACFR report,
Right.
but the idea is to condense it down and make it much more palatable and easier to understand for
Yeah.
non-financial folks.
No, I always like the budget, snapshots, so that's great.
Great. Before I move on to finish up with the work plan items, I just wanted to highlight our top 3 priorities in finance, which will be to continue on with our financial transparency and communications. Second would be to refocus on our financial policy updates and long-term financial planning. And the last item is to modernize finance-related municipal code ordinances, as I just mentioned. So our one work plan item is revenue enhancement.
City council, yeah.
Oh, yes, city council work plan item would be revenue enhancements. So we've made a lot of strides over the last few years with the storm drain assessments and then most recently with the Measure MMB that Patty mentioned. So these were successful voter-approved measures that helped bring the city additional revenue. So going forward, our long-term financial planning item will go hand in hand with potentially bringing new revenue enhancements or at least showing the need for new revenue enhancements. But the most immediate thing would be the user fee and cost recovery discussions that will be coming to council in the near future.
Okay, great.
Yes, and I think that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to take any questions.
Yeah, we have something up here. I will say that before my colleague speaks, I would keep, again, I'm just calling it council priorities, or areas of focus, because, and I think that we should still include revenue enhancements, whatever they may be, as a priority. So I would do that. But Mayor Pro Tem Lesser.
I'd like to explore adding one item to however you want to characterize it. On paper, it's now called a council work plan item, but you can call it whatever. And that is subject to council consensus. And that is to add a study about setting up a parking authority. Can we direct staff to come back to council with what our options might be to establish a parking authority?
So, and I don't know, I am interested in that idea because I've heard it mentioned in various ways, and I don't know if it's a revenue enhancement, but it sounds very interesting. I'm wondering if could we do 3 votes to move that forward as a priority?
I would ask that the council vote, and it would be separate from the revenue enhancement, so it would be its own council work plan.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah, no, I was going to do that, don't worry. I would take, sorry, I think, so you want to make a motion to add that as a priority, and then it could be seconded and voted upon?
So moved.
Oh, sorry, we lost our thing. Okay. Are there any, this is not us saying, yeah, I support it. This is us saying, yeah, let's put on a priority to study. Councilmember Franklin, did you want to?
No, is this going to be to accept the entire
No.
work that we're doing?
No.
Okay, I don't know how
This
you-
is, even, it says that up there. This motion, Councilmember Lesser, would you state your motion?
Sure. It's just to ask staff to come back with our options to set up a parking authority for council and the public to consider.
we're adding a new priority.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
Yeah.
what we're doing. Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments?
May I ask a question?
You may,
Would
and
you
then
like
you
to
may.
include a timeline on this request?
They'll work on it. for-
Staff is going to bring the work plan back for final adoption in May. At that time, until that time, we will work out a timeline and bring it back for the
I
council.
mean, this is the 25, 26
Right.
work plan.
And this is some priority setting. It's not saying, oh, it's done and we like it and we agree. You could come back and we can say, oh, that's a bad idea.
Correct.
Okay. Any other, yes?
I just want a brief definition of a parking authority.
Had some conversations with the city manager. Would you define it in a way so that I don't get it wrong?
Generally, in a city, it's set up as a separate entity than the city council, but it's the city council that serves on the board. And all the finances are specifically, they go toward parking uses, whether it's infrastructure improvement or creation of new parking facilities. And all the money that's generated by by parking goes into a separate fund. So imagine how you have the how you vote separately for CIPs, correct? It would be similarly set up so that you would step out of your role as a city council member and step into your role as the board of the parking authority. And the decisions are made, all decisions related to any infrastructure improvements for parking or property purchases for new parking structures are made by the parking authority as the governing body rather than the city council.
Okay, and open to the public and
Of course.
resident feedback.
Absolutely.
and Everything like that, okay. Thank
Now,
you.
thank you for asking that question so members of the public could be clear. Thank you.
Okay. So call for the question, unless there's further questions. So again,
Motion passes 5-0.
just to add to our priorities. Okay, so we're all clear on, okay. Any other items in finance right now that we're interested in, saying they should, okay? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Parks and Rec. Parks make life better.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council. Mark Lehman, your Parks and Recreation Director, and I will begin with notable accomplishments. Beginning with the Parks and Recreation Strategic Plan, I'm especially proud of this plan. Got a lot of valuable input from the community as well as team members, and look forward to diving into those action items and strategic priorities. Moving on to Phase 4 of the Historical Collection Action Plan, so digitizing newspapers and photographs. This will be hosted on the city server for internal use, and also working with LA County to provide broader access to the digital library. Number 3, a number of public art projects, and included with utility boxes, the egrets, our exhibitions. We also had 6 new murals that were installed. And then partnering with Public Works to complete not only the Strand Park course, but the Polywog NFC Fitness Court, and soon to be the kiln ribbon cutting, which will be on March 3rd at 2:30 p.m.
To make sure, 2:30?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Moving on to department work plan items. Again, the strategic plan, of course, it's complete, but it's all about the implementation. And as mentioned, we're going to be working on those action items. We're going to be making sure that we're hitting all of our timelines. And we have committee members for each of our 3 strategic priorities, and they're meeting on an ongoing basis and coming up with some really phenomenal ideas that we're excited to implement as we move forward, and we'll keep you posted. The update on the Park Master Plan, we are working closely with the Parks and Recreation Commission. Actually, the lead is Commissioner Schreiner, and a lot of valuable input. They are continually updating it. It was originally in 2020, and so, again, updating that. We hope to bring that to you on July 1st. And as we progress, all of that input will be reflected on the city's website, and so we are continually updating that to keep the community educated and involved. And then moving on to implementation of the new software for racket sports. So this is something we're really excited to launch, and it's really about user experience and making it more user-friendly. We know ActiveNet is not user-friendly with racket sports, so we've been looking at a vendor to do this. A number of things you'll be able to do is Google login, Apple Pay. You'll be able to cancel your own reservation. But we're still working on a few bugs. We're still adding we got received some wonderful community input, so we are pushing back the launch of that till April 3rd. So we'll keep you posted, but again, excited to launch this.
So when you say racket sports, you mean tennis, pickleball?
Right now, just tennis and pickleball to begin, and then we hope to expand it if it's successful, which we are confident it will be.
Good old pickleball.
Okay, and then moving on to implementation of the public art maintenance program for the public art collection. Again, as City Council had approved funds to repair 6 artworks. We'll keep you updated on the progress there. And then the Cultural Arts Commission will make recommendations to the City Council annually with updates. And then the Juneteenth events, so the ceremony and the celebration, there will be a listening session scheduled for Saturday, March 8th at the Manhattan Beach Library at 10 a.m. So please come out, learn more about Juneteenth, and share your ideas. And then before I move on to the council work plan items, the top 3 priorities for Parks and Recreation, as you've heard before, the strategic plan, implementing our strategic plan. Priority Parks and Recreation CIPs as they progress. For example, Sand Dune, Manhattan Heights, the Pay and Play, Light Controllers, Senior and Scout House. And third is the new aquatics facility in Manhattan Village and bag pool upgrades.
What you said, new.
Sorry, aquatic facility in Manhattan Village.
Oh, yeah.
Big club partnership and bag pool upgrades.
Wow. Okay. Just a few things. Okay. All right. So then we look at our stuff.
So we're moving on to City Council work plan items. For the donation policy, the 2 items, Love MB, we are very close to completing the MOU and bringing that to City Council. We'll also be working with them on project selection, keeping you updated moving forward. And then Memorial for the Fallen, this initiated in the Parks and Recreation Department. It is now with the Cultural Arts Commission. They are developing an RFQ, and we hope to bring that through the process, which will be through the APPC, Cultural Arts Commission, and ultimately to City Council with final design. Public art program and new initiatives. So there are a number of different new items that they've been looking at. In particular, they are they'll be bringing to you a Poet Laureate program. They're developing details for that. The Shark Mural, which you recently approved, that's going to start in mid-March. And hopefully that will be completed by the end of April. And the Public Art Master Plan, we are really excited to really revamp this to incorporate best practices, our deaccession policy, RFQ process. The last one was done in 2002. And so we will be developing that, again, running that through the process and bringing a final document for your consideration. Assessment of historical artifacts. Public Works has received a few bids for the roof at the Red House. We're anxiously awaiting those and hopefully moving forward with that, as well as Public Works is going to be able to do a lot of the work in-house, painting the interior. And we've had some excellent meetings with the Historical Society, really excited about the educational space and exhibitions and what we do with that space when it's refurbished. Oh. And then also HAI, again, working with them with their recommendations and ongoing support for all the digitization and the Historical Society, of course. Sand Dune Park Master Plan, City Council just approved moving forward with the construction docs. So I know Public Works is going to put that out to bid. And then the Cultural Arts Commission will be working on the lace fence, which the City Council directed. So they will be doing an RFQ for that decorative fencing, both at the bottom of the dune and the top of the dune. And then Polywog Park Dog Run expansion. We just had a great team meeting today, both with the school district and Public Works. And these are tentative dates, but we're looking to expedite this. We're hoping to have the work begin in early April and be completed by the 3rd week in April.
Woof, woof.
I went there last weekend with my dog. She didn't like it.
Uh-oh. Well, hopefully she'll like the new dog.
You know, she's really.
So moving on, repurposing the Pay and Play. The Parks and Recreation Commission is looking at a number of different options. They're looking forward to bringing you those proposed designs we're going to be discussing both in March and April, so hoping to bring that to you in June. Again, as mentioned, the aquatics facility, continuing discussions with the Bay Club, and Library Commission programs. So the needs assessment for the feasibility study, that LA County recently hired a consultant, and I know that they'll be reaching out to set up a meeting and discuss next steps. And then the Library Commission, they will continue their library appreciation events, their story walk updates, and in particular, their speaker series. They are looking to request $75,000 for 2 speakers annually to get really the caliber of speakers that they're looking for. And then last, Bruce's Beach Art Project. The APPC met on January 30th. They developed the RFQ. They finalized the RFQ, and we are hoping to launch that in March. We were just working with community development just to make sure that the RFQ reflected all the ADA standards before we push that RFQ out. It looks like that has been done, and after we receive the RFQ, that will be run through the process through the APPC, Cultural Arts Commission, and then ultimately bringing that back to City Council. That concludes my presentation. Available for any questions.
Great. Yeah, I have a couple of questions. You said that LA County Library had hired a consultant to do a needs assessment. Is that system-wide, or like what needs? Like,
So what the community would like in terms of library services, I know council has also discussed this, cultural library, makerspace. So what's the vision? What would the community like to see?
So but they took that on themselves.
Correct.
Right, and then but so that wouldn't really be that's something you don't have needs assessment on here. We'll get to what goes off of our priorities in a second. I still have a few questions. So explore repurposing the pay and play. I feel like that has to, I think we need to talk about that in a bigger way, because I'm not sure what direction it still stands as to what we're looking at in that space. So I'm not asking you to tell me that right now. I'm just asking my colleagues, what do we think that is at this point? So if I were looking from my perspective, the things, the city donation policy probably goes off our priorities. Again, we're not voting on this yet. These are my thoughts, because if you guys are in process. The assessment of historical artifacts and structural review of the historic beach cottage. So that's interesting, because I know at one point, before we got sort of slammed erroneously, we had talked about in Pollywog Park, using some of the space there, we were going to put a small library. We were going to work with the county. Could we do a small library, and it could be a historical artifacts, et cetera. Part of the reason we wanted to do that is because the Little Red House was so shot and didn't have enough room for all our stuff. So even if we put a new roof on it, are we saying it's not going to flood? Because that area is still, considered a floodplain. And there's that horrible, that out-of-use bathroom kind of storage shed very close by. Do we have any plans to demolish that or do anything with that? Because that just, again, so that's a question for my colleagues. And again, looking at this, we would take the Pollywog Dog Run expansion off of the council work plan items, because that's almost done, right? So that's, I wanted, there's some structural things, but then there's some questions for my colleagues. So that's what I have. Council or Mayor Pro Tem Lesser.
Did you want to get a response to any of that first?
Did I want a response? Well asked. So talk to me about the Little Red House, and has there been discussion of what to do with the extra old bathroom over there, and if there's any notion to expand any of that?
So we think twofold. One, in terms of storage, you may have noticed we have the trailer adjacent to the Red House.
Yeah.
And we're looking to replace that. We actually just recently received some bids, and that is really to fill the hole, because the restroom facility is not sufficient for historical materials. And so we've been renting that, so it's air conditioned. It's for those documents.
So that's what we're going to do with our historical stuff. It's going to be in some portable, like we used to call them. Yeah.
Correct. For short-term and long-term, I think this is something that hopefully the needs assessment would identify.
Great.
But I think you were right on. It would to replace in some way, shape, or form. That would, I know from the Historical Society's point, I think from the HAI expert and from staff's perspective, we need a safe place to preserve the city's history.
Right.
And we are even nervous with this trailer. We would love something more permanent. So I think,
Great.
again, as part of the needs assessment, we would love to see some options to present to you.
Okay. I think that's and with the repurposing of pay and play, so that's at the Parks and Recs Commission right now, I guess is what you're saying. And it's going to come to us that, hey, we want to do this, that, or the other.
Correct.
Okay. I think I'm good for now. You can.
So I had a follow-up question to that very point, where presently on this work plan, there are several items that overlap one another, particularly with the pay and play, where council maybe needs to give some direction to the Parks and Rec Commission before it can consider all the options on the one hand. And frankly, it would welcome input from the commission on what we might do with that space. On the other hand, we're waiting on this LA County needs assessment because the pay and play site may be where this cultural facility in partnership with the county may be built. So what is your thought from a staff standpoint on the timeline of which we consider when, given that they may be mutually exclusive?
It's challenging to say. I know that I think just from our perspective, from the information that we've gathered so far, I'm not sure if any library services would fit within that park. It's so active, and we've heard from the large majority of the user groups. We're recommending futsal. I believe over 900 surveys we received, and there's a number of different ways. What the commission is looking at is there a number of ways to activate that. You could have older adult, aerobics. You could have basketball hoops integrated into that. You could have netting around it. So there's a lot of different options they're looking. But ultimately, it's a policy decision if you'd like to wait until hearing that from the community. But the initial input that we've gathered would be it may not be the most appropriate place for any library services just because of the nature of the park and the activities there.
So subject direction from this council, particularly even tonight, staff plans to do what in terms of presenting this item to the commission to come up with ideas for that space?
So the commission just discussed this at their most recent meeting, and the next 2 months they were hoping to refine that specifically. We're having a GIS map with an overlay so they can look at what the dimensions would be, what exactly activity that would be. There's also a small dog run adjacent to the pay and play now. Would that be moved? Would that be incorporated? And so they're really looking at those different design options. However, they are focusing on futsal.
Okay. So if there's a focus to return to what we do with the LA County surplus, which could be used in partnership with the city to develop some shared building, we first have to wait for the county to complete its needs assessment. And just for the public as well as colleagues, again, the surplus at this point is what amount as of the last time we discussed this?
13 million?
No.
How much?
13 million.
Oh,
$13 million.
Yeah.
So we have this
Somewhere around there.
surplus dedicated for library services, which is why this needs assessment's being undertaken. And with that amount, if we get approval from the county library, subject to the needs assessment, we might be able to partner in some facility to be built in East Manhattan Beach. The question, of course, is where. So what is your thought of the timeline for all this discussion?
What I would hope, the building itself is well beyond repair. Whatever council direction is moving forward, however you'd like to repurpose it, we've worked, it's been assessed with Public Works, with our engineers. And so I think it needs to be demolished regardless. Understood. So in terms of timeline, if it's expedited for library services or for futsal, it would, we could move forward with demolishing it. That would probably still take some time.
Sorry, just to clarify, what is the expectation of the timeline for the needs assessment for library services?
Yeah, when do you think that's coming?
I know we'll be having our first meeting in the first few weeks, and it will be driven by the LA County.
Right.
Right. My guess is The city manager may know better than I would.
I'd say that, number one, we haven't had the kickoff meeting yet with the county and the
So
consultant.
they haven't even begun and they haven't. right.
Correct, so it'll take
Okay.
several months.
Helpful, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, so again, if we look at this piece instead of council work plan and call it council priorities, you know, I still see making the library, whether you call it a surplus or the needs assessment as well, a priority. Leave that on as a priority, right? Because we can't just like let that kind of go by the wayside. You know, if you look at other things that you mentioned that were on our work plan, I think the Polywog Dog Run expansion comes off because it's almost done, right? The Sand Dune Park Master Plan goes to the department, right? Because that's what's happening. I would keep the assessment of historical artifacts and structural review probably on ours, right? Because that also is about the planned use of the park area, right? So I'd keep that. Public art program and new art initiatives, I feel like is on their department work plan, and they'll come to us. I mean, it's still, Madam City Manager, I mean, I'm really just going through the list to see what goes into their department instead of our work plan, right? So if I look at page 75 of 96, update city donation policy.
Slide 17,
Sorry, slide 17, thank you.
I think. It's a little hard to say.
I'm trying to be effective and just failing.
Can I make a suggestion? Maybe we ask staff, what direction do you
No,
want vis-a-vis
no, I
what's
would like
on-
to tell, they said that
Go ahead.
some of this stuff is going to go off, and I'm trying to get consensus as to what that is.
Yes,
And
so
I
we
think
can-
that's helpful.
Correct. We can mark things as complete, which would go off the work plan.
Completely.
But then the Sand Dune Park Master Plan, for example, the Parks and Recreation has done their part in that. Parks and Recreation Commission has done their part in that. Council has made a decision. At this point, it would just transfer over
To the
to
department,
Public Works.
or Public Works, to
Correct.
somebody, that's what
To
I'm
their
saying.
department
It
work
goes off of
plan
our
or
priority.
just a CIP project.
Our
So you
priority.
can mark it complete.
Yeah.
and because the Parks and Rec Department has done their part on that at this point.
I think I don't want it to disappear, so I'd like it to show up over on Public Works, because I think if we say it's done, then I'm looking for the lace art, right?
Okay.
So that's how I would, so starting from the top of that page, update on the city donation policy, it was our priority, you guys are making it happen, it's almost done, that comes off of our priority list. See what I'm saying? Are you comfortable with this?
Take it
Okay,
away.
good, I think I will.
Yep.
Right, it's gonna come back to us. So again, because if we don't do that, it's gonna look like these priorities are still ongoing for us and we're not getting anything done, and we're done. So public art program and new art initiatives. Should that stay on ours as a priority, or should it be a department work plan? Anybody? Bueller?
I think this is one too where it's tied into the Cultural Arts Commission work plan, and so your work plan dictates what they're working on? Or,
Okay, and we have been prioritizing public art. I'm fine with that. I'm fine leaving on ours the assessment of historical artifacts and structural review. I think we want to keep that a priority,
Yes.
right? Sand Dune Master Plan, we just talked about that. And the Polywog Dog Run is complete. Okay, so then the second page, absolutely keep on ours as well, exploring the repurposing of pay and play, because we haven't given direction on that. Sorry, the next slide. I'm just calling it a page of the plan.
18, yeah.
And I'm just trying to, I'm not saying it has to be my opinion, I'm just trying to keep us going here. So exploring aquatics facility, absolutely, we're focusing on that. The library commission programs, I didn't understand it as it's written, but when we talk about needs assessment and we talk about all of that, absolutely we want to keep that. And I guess Bruce's beach art project, I feel like can go back to the department work plan because it's in process. But tell me if I'm wrong, or if you guys, feel it needs to be on here so we keep, right? Because you guys, at that meeting, you went out, now you're going out.
They have all the work to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, so we still have these priorities, you guys now have the work, all right? That's what I think you wanted from this, right? Okay. Is there new stuff? Is there new stuff? Do you want, anybody want to build a roller rink? More dog runs that my dog likes? Yeah,
If I may, I said this once before a long time ago, I don't expect anybody to remember it, but you mentioned that there's a small dog run at Marine Avenue next to the, next to the racquetball courts.
Yes.
They're there now. I just believe that back behind the softball field and to the east of the soccer field, as you walk back on all that nice sidewalk that's back there that ends up at the skate park, I think that would make an ideal dog run. I mean, it's going to be a lot bigger than what's there now, probably a lot bigger than what's going to, it would just take it away from the futsal,
futsal, sounds like footsies.
whatever,
Sorry.
the soccer on cement, what could go wrong? Just give you a great dog run back there. You're not going to disturb anybody. It's to the back end of the studios. There's vegetation between it and the field, so that's not going to distract any baseball players. So just take a look at that.
Could
Maybe
that
even
be part of the parks master plan? Like, is that part of, or, I don't know.
It does, and I think it's actually, it will segue perfectly into the pay and play repurposing. This is something we already
Okay.
discussed with the commission. Where else could it be repurposed or relocated within the park?
Great.
So,
Great.
excellent suggestion.
yeah. Okay. Good
Council,
boy, Joe. Good boy.
okay then. Councilmember Sherillian.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mark, again, you got a lot of out-facing projects. So I appreciate the target dates being reasonably within this calendar year. Appreciate that. I just want to make sure you have enough direction from us, seeing you're really supported by your commission and they're here tonight. Do you need anything else from us to move forward on any of these things?
No, this is helpful, and again, it's exciting to be moving these projects forward. Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, I would say that the Parks and Recs Commission and Library Commissioners have been really busy the past couple of years. I feel like it's been a great group, and it's not always been the same people, but great stuff coming out of it, and kudos to you, and it's exciting. So anything else, anyone? Okay, no fencing, no. Yeah, oh,
Well, I was just thinking, as I know we're still a ways away from the Olympics, right? But I was at a conference this last weekend where we talked about kind of courting teams to come and have their practice facilities in Manhattan Beach, and that would be, it depends on. So I was just thinking if we could be like forward thinking on what facilities can be used to entice teams to come and stay and spend their dollars in Manhattan Beach. So I know beach volleyball would be an absolute, but that's county, right? All the facilities out there.
no. I mean, it's a great topic. So there's a couple different things. Go ahead, you're not done.
No, I mean, so that would be a priority for me, but I know even though it's 4 years away, I think within the next year, a lot of the other cities are going to be competing for these teams. So I think
Yeah.
we should be forward thinking about what facilities do we need to really, dial in to attract these teams. So, and I don't know the answer. I'm just saying,
Yeah, no, I
for the
think-
people who know sports better than I do and the kind of facilities that are needed.
Yep.
Well,
I
think
think
about that.
I think it's a great thing, and I would say it's manyfold. And for Parks and Recs, our facilities, it could mean working with the schools. So maybe we want to actually have some sort of ad hoc Olympic and World Cup, or task force, or not task force, but, like a little internal thing, because there's, reaching out to, say, let us be your practice area of choice, right? There's also, could we have an art exhibit at the Cultural Arts Center that shows, what happened last time at the Olympics and who was involved in the Olympics? Because what's her name? Lynn Gross has this incredible archive. She was a volunteer at the last Olympics, and she has this incredible archive. So maybe there's an art exhibit there. We have all these Olympians who still live in town. And so I would love to prioritize focus, because also with the World Cup as well, whether we're talking about fun stuff or with PD and fire and public works, it's in parking and traffic, there's a whole thing. So it's not just Parks and Rec, but I really am glad you brought it up at this time. Councilmember Shirley, did you still want to speak? Did you?
I did not.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem Lesser.
So I'm trying to shape this.
Yeah.
And maybe what might be asked for a work plan item is an assessment on how our city might participate, whether through housing or venues in the upcoming Olympics. But we obviously have to note some of the potential challenges of hosting anything here. There is that small issue of parking and our limited capacity to be able to do much of anything. But nonetheless, I wonder if a work plan item just related to giving staff a platform and to come back to us to discuss what our options might be.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, first of all, I'm not asking that we host an event, because that's already decided. That's not what we're talking about. It's that Albania's volleyball team may want to come practice here, and their families may be staying in hotels that we can't control. But I think whether it's within the Parks and Rec Department, whether it's in management services, there should be an Olympic subcommittee get going to discuss all of it. But there is a lot through Parks and Rec, as I mentioned, cultural arts, et cetera. So I think you guys you understand what the direction is, unless people say no.
No, I got my button to speak, but I do agree that there needs to be an item, and I agree that maybe it's not Parks and Rec and maybe it's management services, but we definitely need to get it somewhere.
And for us to take advantage of it, even if it's,
Absolutely.
It turns out when people come to compete in the Olympics, there are groups that say, while you're practicing, we're going to take your family and take them to Disneyland, or we're going to take them to the beach, or we're going to take them to, so, it's like there's all kinds of aspects to it. We could do a new city pin, Olympic city pin, just saying, okay.
Oh, I love that.
Maybe we need a committee,
Okay, we'll talk.
Oh, yeah.
Don't worry, David, we're not going too far. Go ahead.
I just was going to observe that, I think it was in 2017 where we had the Special Olympics that was hosted here, there was a committee that was set up, not just of council, it was a whole group of stakeholders in the community, from the Chamber of Commerce to different others. So that might be included in when the staff comes back with a list of how we might structure our
The mayor's
exploration of ideas.
subcommittee, the current mayor's subcommittee on the Olympics, I can do that.
Well, we'll see what it.
I can. Okay.
Mayor, real quick.
Yeah.
I do strongly believe that it should be in management services, though.
Okay, I think that's fair. Oh, phew. No, but come on, Mark, what's it, Thank you, sir.
Everyone's going to get it because it's big.
Yeah,
right?
it's going to touch every department, and I think that's also the reason.
Yes.
And, no, it's great. And I mean, I'm not saying, but I could set up a mayor's subcommittee on it and then make it bigger and make it that way. So it may not be the best way to do it, but we could.
So just an observation from talking to the other cities there and the like, including Santa Monica, where
They're having it.
yeah, the home of beach volleyball, right? These decisions are being made now by these cities, and and hosting a whole country like San Pedro is going to be hosting Croatia. They're going to call they call it whatever the country is house, so that's going to be the Croatia house.
That's right.
So a lot of these decisions are being made, and a lot of infrastructure, lot of organizational stuff needs to be done.
And we may not be able to handle it like to that level, but we should also be excited and figure out something to do, but that's a great point. The Dalmatians, yeah, that's great. So exciting. Okay.
Real quick, Madam Mayor, do we need to vote on what came off the work plan?
What came off the work plan?
Or do you need, city manager, do you need a,
Dog park.
They're not,
Are moving, we're marking the donation policy.
Microphone.
So sorry.
We are marking the donation policy as complete. We are
Moving sand dune to the Public Works Department work plan. We are marking Polywog as complete. And the Bruce's Beach Art Project would also be moved to the Parks and Rec Department work plan.
right. So we don't need a motion for that. If those, it's just, but we do need a motion. Do we want to actually prioritize discussions about Olympics?
And that would be an added work plan item.
So I would make that motion unless poor Councilmember Ternay brought it up. So let's call for that question. I can envision the pin now.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay,
Motion passes 5-0.
all right. How we doing? There you go. Okay, we are at community development.
Honorable Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, City Council members, Ryan Heiss, Acting Community Development Director, here to present to you tonight. As you all know, we are completely digital currently in community development, so we are currently working on digitizing our older records so that the public has access to them during PRA requests, and we have successfully digitized last fiscal year, or this over 140,000 pages of records, and we're able to destroy 226 boxes of records. We additionally achieved the gold level recognition in the South Bay Energy and Climate Recognition Program for the city's energy and climate related efforts. Our code enforcement, as you know, has been fully staffed now, and so that allowed us to open 631 new cases, but also allowed us to work through the backlog and close more cases than we were able to open, so we closed over 740 cases.
I'm sorry, Ryan, you said it enabled us, that what enabled you to do?
To work through a backlog of code enforcement cases. So we're able to close more cases than we opened.
Because you hired, you're
Oh,
fully
okay,
staffed.
okay.
Yep.
Yeah,
That was a
okay.
question.
Yep, and that was with the support of council. Yeah, so-
All right,
Yep.
thank you.
And also in our building division, we were able to issue over 1,600 permits and complete over 16,000 building department inspections all the next business day. On our department work plan items, we were able to provide planning, building, and traffic engineering support for the parking lot 3 emergency project and the parking strategies to accommodate that, including the shuttle and other things. Conduct public outreach and engagement with the development community relating to the new residential overlay district. And we also are, these are work plan items we're currently working on.
Okay.
And also facilitate the review and administration of outdoor facilities permits and sidewalk dining permits. We also are processing planning applications of all types listed there. And we are reviewing building plans for building code and zoning regulations, issuing the permits, and also conducting the inspections. Additionally, our priorities for community development are to efficiently and effectively process development, building, and right-of-way permits, enhance the quality of life for Manhattan Beach residents and visitors, and foster a vibrant downtown and retail corridors, and focus on staff recruitment, retention, and professional development. And our city council work plan items are modernized parking standards, which is currently in progress, housing policy and regulation updates, which is also has to do with our housing element and state laws that are coming through, which are all in progress. Long-term outdoor dining and business uses on public and private property, that is coming back to council shortly on a special session. And also our zoning code cleanup, which is ongoing and will be coming back to the Planning Commission. The neighborhood traffic management plans, which is going to PKIC. We are also working together with other departments to explore the options for redevelopment of parking lot 3, and that'll be coming back. And last, we are exploring parking and complete street opportunities adjacent to the Jocelyn Community Center and Live Oak Park, and that has not been started yet.
Okay.
We do have some recommendations. We do recommend the following 3 items are moved from the council work plan to the department work plan.
Reading my mind.
The housing policy and regulations updates, because that is ongoing and oftentimes state mandates. The zoning code cleanup, and also the neighborhood traffic management plans. Additionally, we have one new item that was recently approved by the city council that we recommend adding to the department work plan, which is consideration of the rear yard accessory structure setbacks. And that was discussed and provided direction on February 4th council meeting.
And that would be on your work plan. Okay, so going
We-
back.
We suggest the city council work plan at this point in time.
Sorry,
But
okay.
it's your decision.
Yeah, no, I think we talked about it. It should still stay there because we're not sure what they're doing, right? Okay, questions? Any?
That is all I have, and I'm here for any questions.
I mean, I would like to say, just today, there was an issue that came up recently that I was unable to participate in because it was very close to my house, and that was the traffic calming and traffic management on Valley, Ardmore, and 6th. And just today, there's a brand-new crosswalk there on both Valley and Ardmore, and a connecting crosswalk, and we'll see how it works, but I was like, that was like Matt. Yeah, it looked like it. My dog liked that, so that was pretty amazing. So
that
well
was
done.
Your dog was elected to council?
Yeah, you don't know. She's texting me all night long.
That was creative youth, public works worked together with our traffic engineer to get an interim solution because a long-term solution will take some time. So
We'll see. I mean, I point to my colleague who lives nearby, and Stefan lives nearby. I mean, I appreciate that. Like, sometimes we have to try things, and sometimes, you know, whether it's a pilot project or interim or whatnot, but I was very excited, so yay.
thank you.
Okay, colleagues, anything?
I felt comfortable with the,
Please,
I felt comfortable with the items that Ryan had recommended that we
same.
keep in community development. So the exploration, Ryan, of parking and complete street opportunities adjacent to the Jocelyn Community Center and Live Oak Park, is that a refinement of what we did in sort of this emergency situation?
So the emergency situation, the parking was revised, so it would be different, but looking at it holistically as far as complete streets and the parking as well together.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay.
Great.
Looks good to me.
Yeah, I appreciate how you bifurcated it and said, now let's move this. Other comments or questions?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Ryan, thank you for the update. Again, just to follow up on what Joe was saying on the exploration of the opportunities for parking for Jocelyn and other areas in Live Oak, when will that come back to council again to kind of see opportunities to make adjustments? Because we get some complaints. I personally get some complaints on Ardmore or Valley and some other areas, so.
So Eric Templey is here to answer specific questions, but if you are referring to the temporary parking.
Yeah.
So that will be coming back to council as part of the Lot 3.
Okay.
Once the temporary lot is installed, then we will be looking at which, not just there, throughout the addition.
Perfect. That answered my question. Thank you, Eric.
Thank you, Eric.
I'm good. Thank you.
Yeah, good question. Okay, other questions or comments? All right. I think,
Thank you very much.
well done.
Yeah.
So does the council agree that we would move the 3 that are on the screen to the department work plan, and we would add to the council work plan the
The rear yard.
discussion with the planning commission and the city council regarding the residential accessory structures?
Yeah,
Great.
yeah.
Do you need a
Exact-
motion?
Do we need I don't think we need a motion for that.
No.
No. No. Yeah. Okay, Public Works. Is everybody okay? Can we keep going? Okay, good. You okay, Eric?
Great.
All right, excellent.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council. Eric Lee, your Public Works Director. I'm very excited to present the Public Works portion of the event tonight. As it relates to notable accomplishments, we've accomplished a lot this last year and anticipate more throughout the rest of this fiscal year. But the top three things we're highlighting today, obviously, our response to the Lot 3 emergency. And I know a lot of departments are taking credit for that because it was a team effort. But really our staff did a fantastic job managing the demolition portion of that. And to get that facility down in 17 days on the type of construction contract we were able to competitively bid. A lot of great work there. The next one on this list is our Jocelyn Center Crosswalk project. And this one, it's not only has it really improved safety for our older adults over at Jocelyn, but at the ribbon cutting, I met a young family over there that the father, he sought me out and he wanted to express his gratitude for the city to installing those crosswalks there because he and his neighbors, they all bring their strollers over there and come into the green belt and come over into downtown, and they got a much more safe passageway now. And so just wanted to highlight that. It's really a great project that we were able to do. And then the last one is the Kiln project, and this is something that our community has clamored for years, and we were able to push that over the line. And this is an example of all of our departments working together on this with some complex, unknown circumstances that really caused some inordinate delays, but we got there, and it demonstrates that the city can do things.
People are fired up about it.
Hey, Eric? Eric, can I ask a question?
The old one was going to pot.
Yeah.
Eric, really quick, great job on all your items, or your accomplishments, but the crosswalks themselves, I do get a lot of feedback for those, and appreciate you putting those up as quickly as you did. Are those scalable at all? When I say that, I mean, can in-ground pavers be added potentially or an option?
Like the warning lights, the in-ground lights?
Yeah, maybe not on the Ardmore side, but more on the Valley side where there's no homes or anything that it would impede.
So we're really trying to move away from the in-road warning lights, and I would say from a safety perspective, I love them, especially on Highland, when you don't see the pedestrians coming out from the cars, but you see the lights on the ground. They're a bear to maintain. And industry-wide, we're really moving to the RRFBs, the rectangular flashers that we have installed there now. And so that's what we'd like to do. Additionally, with the Grand Prix race, we want to make sure that we're not putting impediments in the roadway there as well.
Interesting.
No, I appreciate that. Just thinking how many times a day I see that and people still don't stop. But is there any way to enhance the sign and put a silhouette potentially in addition to the strobing lights, but put a silhouette?
Yeah, I think the traffic engineer would agree that we could escalate if necessary.
All right, just a thought. I'm not asking for anything else.
Okay, great. All right, and then you want your priorities? Is that where we were in the?
Well, so let me get to our
completed.
department work plans.
Oh, right, sorry.
Which also lead into our priorities. And so I kind of cheated. So this is our priorities also.
You did good.
So obviously getting us through the Lot 3 emergency continues to be a top priority. We're anticipating having the interim parking lot completed by the end of May, right in time for summer. And so that is a #1 priority. Getting our new water treatment plant up and running and into operation and pumping our own local groundwater, that is another one of our work plan items. And we're on the cusp of getting our permit. So the story on that one is the Division of Drinking Water engineer that's assigned to our region has been devoted to Palisades fire recovery. And so we're waiting for that resource to come back to us, and we're hoping to get our permit in the next couple weeks. The next three are stormwater projects, and these are really important for the city, not only because they help clean the ocean, but we've got regulatory deadlines that we need to comply with, and we have tens of millions of dollars of grant funds on the line that we need to stay on track with our granting agencies. So number 3 is our high flow capacity trash treatment control devices project.
What is that?
our trash TMDL, total maximum daily load. So under our permit from the Water Quality Board, we can only put so much trash in the ocean at any one
Oh.
time. And so it's making sure that we don't exceed that.
Good
So we're
Lord.
putting large devices at strategic points along the coastline. They're going to be filtering out the trash
Yeah.
before the stormwater gets in the ocean.
Great.
And then staff will be cleaning those out. And then a host of screens and catch basins to make sure that stuff doesn't even get into our stormwater system.
Great.
And then our 28th Street stormwater infiltration project. This is the next big hole we're going to be digging in Manhattan Beach. And so we're coming back to council March 18th to approve the design and get permission to go out to bid on that. And so I think there's a lot of people that see the benefits of this, and certainly there's going to be a lot of impacts associated with it as well.
Negative impacts while it's building.
Correct.
Yeah. I mean,
Positive impacts and negative impacts.
yeah, I mean, just to be, fully, yeah, right.
Traffic is going to be a problem. There's,
Right.
there's,
Noise.
there's properties adjacent or near the site have expressed concern. Our community meeting that we had a couple weeks ago, we got a lot of feedback from the community. And so we want to, before we go out to bid on this thing, even though it's something that's we've been working on for years, we want to make sure the council is fully
Right.
aware. So when we come back with a construction agreement for you to approve, there's no surprise.
Got it.
Approximately, what is the length of time? Is it 18 months or 12 months or?
It's, I think it's 12 months of active construction, probably 18 months to get through closeout.
The 12 months of active, you think?
Yeah.
So since we last looked at it, we had we had the tragic disaster with 12,000, 16,000 homes being destroyed. I mean, is that going to impact building, the availability?
You're
of-
referring to
Yeah,
the
house.
wildfires.
Yeah.
Undoubtedly, construction in general is, it's going to take, construction will take longer and costs will go up. There was an article we reviewed at staff level just a week ago that LA County or Southern California is just construction workers is, we're kind of staffed at a near all-time high. And you consider all the work that needs to happen, the region's going to have to be importing construction workers from other parts of California or the nation to really rebuild. And so, as it relates to our 28th Street project specifically, can't tell you exactly what the impacts are going to be, but that will certainly be a variable in what we're dealing with. And I think, frankly, all the construction that we're going to be doing over the next many years is going to, there will be a ripple effect on that.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last item here on our work plan that I wanted to showcase, and I forgot to mention, so these are the 5 that we wanted to present to the council tonight. We actually have 154 work plan items on the department work plan. So there's no shortage of things going on in public works. But another one of the things we're working on is rebidding and awarding contracts for major maintenance services. And so council approved our new janitorial contract at the last meeting. And Councilmember Shirellian, I think, in really good form, took that off consent to showcase what we're doing and why we're doing it. But we're rebidding, contracts for millions and millions of dollars right now. And so there's a significant amount of administrative work that has to happen on the front end, and we need to be good contract administrators on the back end to make sure that happens well.
Okay.
And so top 3 priorities for our department is really Lot 3, our water treatment plant and getting that into service, and then all of our stormwater obligations. All right, so relates to the council work plan, we've got 3 items. One is the downtown and North Manhattan Beach beautification work plan, and that's something that's been here for quite a while. We've, in the last few quarters, we've got all the planters on a quarterly refresh, which we really think is helping to enhance the area. We've got a new string light vendor that we're using for the trees, which has really, I think, made the tree lights pop. And so we continue to do that work. The next one on this list is parking meter and kiosk exploration.
Hey, Eric, real quick, quick
Go
question.
ahead.
Were we able to bring irrigation to the trees in the north? Yeah.
We have a CIP budget to do it.
Okay.
I think it's $300,000 that's been earmarked for it, and it's going to be delivered as part of a CIP project in the future.
Perfect. Are we still hand watering them?
We are, and the hope is that we're able to actually get recycled purple pipe water to use
That'd
there.
be
So
amazing.
we're taking a larger perspective on it and hoping to deliver a better project.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, the next one, parking meters and kiosks exploration. This was added by the council last year, and we're excited to come back with some recommendations for the council to consider in April. And so we are really looking to get out of a single parking meter space model into modern parking, where we've got kiosks strategically placed within blocks that is integrated with pay by phone or pay by text, and really just getting into the 21st century with parking meter infrastructure.
Do some of the options still include a credit card?
Yes, they, everything will include some type of electronic payment. What we're wrestling with is we'd love to be able to get out of coins from just a cumbersome staff level perspective, but Coastal Commission probably going to be frowning on that. But we were actually, we've submitted interest to be part of a pilot program that the Coastal Commission is doing to allow us to not do that. And so that hasn't been approved, but we're working towards it.
Interesting. I would just always hope that, I mean, I'm not as old-fashioned as coins, because I certainly never use those anymore in parking meters, but I'm hesitant to go to a model that's all like QR codes or electronic, because those can be, hacked. And so I'd rather be able to use cards or Apple Pay or something. So.
Yeah, and we will not be using a QR code payment.
Okay.
And the last one here, community education regarding recycling and its relation to organic waste. This one also was added last year. A lot of work that we detailed in the staff report and the work plan update about what's been happening there. But as council is aware, we're struggling with our diversion rate with waste management. And you've given us some direction on exploring how to come back and get some value for not being able to hit that diversion rate. And so that's really the main focus as it relates to recycling right now. And we're hoping that in working with our consultant, HF&H, and Waste Management, as we come back with recommendations for the council to consider, not only can we recruit some of that value, but also that would relate to outreach and education to the community about the importance of these issues.
Okay.
And that concludes my end of the presentation.
So I have a question or a thought. What do we think about, like, this is both your department and community development, but is there a thought that we need to add the trash enclosure discussion to this work plan somewhere? Because it seems like a big item. I could be wrong. Maybe we don't need to have it on here, but.
I mean, it seems like it's going to be pretty quick and spec'd out.
I mean, it's in process, right? It's. I don't see it. Maybe what I'm saying, I see David try. Go ahead, David. Try to.
I thought I was going to pick up on what Councilmember Franklin just said, that I think staff is already working on this.
Sure.
Does it need to be a work plan item?
Right. Well, I mean, that's what I'm asking, because there's a lot of things they've been working on that we say, oh, you're working on that. Oh, that's coming to council, and it's not on here.
Yeah,
but that is such a, so that's all I want to hear from.
Respectfully, my hope is that we deliver this by June 30th, and it's not on your work plan next year.
All right. Okay.
Can we open up the Lot 3, the temporary Lot 3 without it? Because that's the end of May, right?
Separate discussion. This is for the greater refuse
Bigger
enclosure
policy.
discussion as it relates to the city's ordinance.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So
right.
we've got another meeting with the community, business community next week, and within a month after that, we're hoping to come back to the council with some recommendations, and then assuming it meets your approval, we'll come back with an ordinance to.
Right.
Okay.
And it really is, it's a good example. I mean, staff and all the departments are presenting all these things that are priorities for them, things that are already on their work plan, and it's still not everything they are doing, right? It's just so that we understand, things that have related to priorities that we've laid out and how they're handling it, and it's amazing how much they do on a daily basis. So thank you. Any other questions?
Thank you for recognizing that.
Yeah, I've got a,
You're welcome.
sorry.
Oh,
That's all right.
I'm sorry. I thought that was an old one.
No.
Sorry.
That's all right.
What a bad mayor.
Just a quick observation on the parking meters. There's a TBD. maybe when this comes back to council, you can kind of have a refined date. I'm not a big fan of the TBD targets, so.
You'd like a date certain.
Well, it's a 25, 26 work plan priority list. You would want it to be in that time
No,
period.
that's fair. I'm.
Well understood.
back.
Thank you.
Thanks.
That's fair. Yeah, we don't want to fall out and, yeah. Any other, Councilmember Franklin?
Yeah, so going back to the water treatment plant, because I remember that was really key with the whole Peck Reservoir reconstruction and the like. So that's behind schedule in terms of, there was something that was preventing it from going online or something. As I recall.
There's been a lot of hurdles along the way, and it's certainly behind schedule. We're on the cusp of getting it turned on. The latest issues have just been regulatory permitting. And so, once we get our permit, we'll actually be able to legally start using the water in our system. And the plan is for us to, hopefully over the next 3 to 6 months, normalize operations. And then my hope is to come back to the council early next fiscal year with a plan to expand our water rights in the West Basin with leases. And so, right now, our current adjudicated right is about 20% of our water usage. And if we could expand that, and there's right holders in the West Basin that are not using their full rights. And so, for every 1,000 acre feet that we can get additional rights for, we save about $1 million for the waterfront. So there's
remarkable.
huge benefit for us to do that.
These are the things you don't know, that right?
We got our own landman here, so.
Yeah, our own lemon, oh,
Yeah.
I like that show too. Any other, go ahead.
No, and so, how is that going to impact, like what we charge our residents for water and can deliver to them and that kind of thing?
Well, in the long run, it's going to help us stabilize our rates so we don't have to be reliant on, or we don't have to be subject to rate increases from West Basin or Metropolitan Water District. And so we'll have more control. And the reality is costs continue to go up, but if we can make sure those costs go up slower, I think that would probably be the best we can hope for right now. And we're preparing an item for the council in April to come back and talk about water rates, and we can talk about more then as well.
Correct. Great, terrific, thanks.
More questions? Would my colleagues indulge me in a 5-minute break before we move on? All right, excellent. 5-minute break, everybody.
Pegasus, can we go live? We're live, Madam Mayor.
Goodness, okay. We're coming back to our council work plan meeting, and we have Lisa Jenkins, Director of Human Resources.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Thank you for the introduction. I'm happy to share some of the accomplishments for the Human Resources Department. I believe you'll hear more about this from Fire Chief Lang, but if Council will recall, in the mid-year budget in 2024, there was an approval of a staffing plan that would insource to the fire department personnel ambulance services. With that, there was also a deputy chief added, which paved the way for 4 internal promotions within the department. And we supported the fire department in the labor relations aspects related to the implementation of this plan, as well as the onboarding of 8 firefighter paramedics. So that was 3 newly approved positions, 3 positions that had been overstaffed with IOD spots, injury on duty spots, and then 2 vacancies that we had. And so that enabled the rescue to take shape for last year. Expanding on that, in total, we recruited and filled approximately 70 full-time positions last calendar year. And just to put this in context, we're still pacing at around 3 times our historic recruitment rates. In 2020, that was our low for recruitment with 11 positions filled as we were on a hiring freeze at that time. The peak was in 2022, as well as the peak of our employee separations. That's what was referred to at the time as the Great Resignation. So that's when a lot of movement was happening, both people leaving positions and for us, a lot of recruitment activity. The peak was 84 positions. And then we've been right around 70 for the past couple of years. So this is in relation both to employee turnover as well as new positions hired. As I mentioned with the first item that I talked about, there's been a number of other staffing plans that relate to either enhancing core services or insourcing services that were previously handled by contract companies. And so this recruitment pace has remained steady. I'll talk about it a bit more on the next slide, but in relation to that, what that means for our workforce statistics as of now is that we have almost 50% of our employees with less than 5 years with the city, and then another approximately 20% that have between 5 and 9 years. So this underscores the need for training and development of our city workforce, as we have a lot of individuals newly in their positions, a lot of individuals who have been promoted internally. So even though there's been an increase in full-time staffing across the city and an increase in workload, our full-time employee count within human resources has remained static. However, we have been able to, with the support of council, strategically add on some part-time resources with dedicated functions. One of those positions was added last year with a focus on training and development. So with that, we've been able to offer, obviously, our required trainings, but also offer some additional trainings, which I've highlighted on here. And that is a goal for the future, is to continue expanding training and development opportunities. As far as some upcoming department work plan items, as council is aware, we have labor negotiations this year that's already began with 4 full-time bargaining units whose contracts expire in June of this year. We also are planning to implement our performance evaluation and onboarding automated systems. So this relates to moving our paper processes to an automated process, and then continuing to enhance our training and development efforts, especially on our safety training side, but also on our broader professional development for city employees, including management and supervisory training, customer service training, other types of training that are specific to individual departments. And then, as you've heard from some of the other departments, continuing a focus on updating key policies and procedures. We also are working on an employee handbook that would be a resource for employees. In terms of priorities, as I've discussed, reaching agreement with our labor partners, with our upcoming contract negotiations is a priority. Enhancing our performance evaluation and management system and providing training on that is a priority. And then as well as enhancing our overall training and development for the city workforce. And the Human Resources Department does not have any items specifically on the City Council priority work plan. And so with that, I would be happy to answer any questions that the council has.
Okay. All right. Colleagues, do we have any questions for our hardworking Human Resource Director? I don't think we have questions. But wow. Realize that there's a lot going on in your department, trying to keep, fill positions and keep us all going, and really appreciate it. So
Thank you.
thank you. I guess that's it.
Okay, great.
All right.
Good job. Thank you.
All right, and here comes our police chief.
Yes, good evening, Mayor Haworth, members of the council, Rachel Johnson, your police chief, and I'm excited to be before you to talk about the police department's work plan and our notable accomplishments. Over the past year, our department has prioritized community engagement and transparency, trying to strengthen our relationship with the residents that we serve. We've hosted a number of events to connect with our community, including Coffee with a Cop, Ice Cream Cones with a Cop, our Trunk or Treat event, the Community Police Academy, and our Senior Community Police Academy. And we hosted 3 town halls last year, and our first town hall for this year is scheduled for April 2nd at 6 p.m. at the Jocelyn Center. All of those initiatives help us to foster trust, improve transparency, and encourage collaboration between law enforcement and our community. Our second notable accomplishment is enhancing our bicycle patrols. We've expanded our bicycle patrol team and increased their deployments, which allows our officers to be more visible and accessible in our neighborhoods. We've also grown our fleet of police bicycles to support this effort. As the council is aware, our 2 full-time bicycle officers started their service the weekend of July 4th, and through December, they'd worked 147 shifts. During those shifts, they made 419 traffic stops, 33 pedestrian stops. They issued 132 citations and made 17 arrests. And it's notable that one of those arrests was of a person who had just finished committing a residential burglary when they got behind him and tried to pull him over. He was ultimately caught following pursuit. Our third notable accomplishment has been focusing on retail theft prevention. We've conducted multiple operations targeting retail theft, working closely with some of our local businesses to reduce crime and protect our community's economy. And as these thefts are often perpetrated by the same persons across our region in the South Bay, we continue to work with our partner agencies locally to address these thefts. We've done things from mere surveillance to actually having our detectives pros as store staff for these retail theft operations, and we've been very successful. They've been spearheaded by the Detective Bureau, and quite a high number of them have resulted in at least 1 arrest. And certainly, we've strengthened those partnerships with our local retailers. As for our department work plan items, we're looking ahead and working on several key projects to enhance public safety, improve our operational efficiencies, and address some emerging challenges. One that we're working on that we hope to finish soon is a calls for service dashboard, which would be an online dashboard on the city's website to provide near real-time data on calls for service, just increasing public awareness of what we do and also our transparency. We continue to advocate at the state level for clear e-bike regulations and conducting community outreach to educate riders on safety and compliance. We're also working on our 2025-2028 strategic plan, which is a multi-year plan to guide our priorities, our resource allocation, and service improvements. As part of our strategic plan development, not only do we solicit our internal employees and by their work group to see what they feel the priorities should be, but we also we'll be hosting a community meeting at a date to be determined, as well as part of our strategic planning development process. We are also we continue to work on our FUSIS community camera registration project, which allows residents and businesses to voluntarily register their security cameras, which can aid us in investigations and help in crime prevention. And finally, we continue to work on our computer-aided dispatch and records management system replacement. We're working with RCC to implement a new computer-aided dispatch system, which will have a companion RMS component to modernize our emergency dispatch and our records management, or the software where they talk to each other more efficiently, just making things a lot more seamless for us than they are currently. So finally, on to our department priorities. Recruitment and hiring remains, and retention remain a priority for the police department. Our goal is to reach full staffing levels to ensure that we can continue to meet our mission and meet the community's needs. Second is the completion of the calls for service dashboard. This would be a critical tool for us for transparency and community engagement. And finally, to work on the implementation of the CAD RMS system. It's a lengthy project to undertake, and as we are embarking on it yet again, it's important for us to keep that as one of our priorities, because it really will help us with data collection and our ability to fight crime more effectively. So as the department moves forward, we remain committed to public safety, community engagement, and operational excellence. We appreciate the ongoing support of not only this council, but also our residents, and we look forward to another year working with the community in partnership to reduce crimes. That concludes my presentation, and I'm available for questions.
Thank you so much, Chief. I wanted to kick it off because I wanted to call attention to something that I would call a notable accomplishment that Councilmember Franklin and Councilmember Tarnay also attended, which was last Thursday, I believe. I don't know what you would call it. It wasn't supposed to be a town hall, but call it a driveway meeting, a neighborhood meeting, You've done these before when there's a neighborhood where there's a certain concern that's very specific to the neighborhood. The Red House issue came up last year. And, you've always said, but we're willing to come out and talk to the neighbors. And there were some neighbors in East Manhattan who were having, quite a number of break-ins. And so you worked with them to say, sure, I'll come. And then somehow this driveway meeting with like 25 neighbors, everybody gets, wants to know what's going on, became, 200-300 people at the Penny Camp multi-purpose room, right? And the three of us, went on our own. We, of course, didn't say anything much. But I do have to say that was so remarkable because, first of all, there was a lot of confusion in the community. How come I didn't know about this? And was this publicized? And right as it began, the resident who you had worked with kind of stood up and said, hey, everybody, this is not an official city event, that, we weren't invited. It's not. This was, I'd reached out to the police. I'd asked them to come to my house. So it was really wonderful that this resident kind of said that. But then, and I just have to give so many kudos to Lieutenant Benjamin and Sergeant Abreu, who ran the meeting. They answered questions and were so approachable and warm and real. And Lieutenant Benjamin well, first of all, Sergeant Abreu said, listen, while you guys were on ski week, I was driving an unmarked car through those neighborhoods over and over again. And I was pretty sure I was going to get pulled over by the police. So that was very funny. But then Lieutenant Benjamin said something really profound, I thought, that obviously if your home is broken into or your neighborhood's under this kind of, cloud, it's very upsetting to you. She said, I want you to know that whenever anything like this happens in our community, we take it very personally. She said, I am so angry when it happens. All of us are. And it just hit me, that's how they feel. So it was really very humanizing, if you will, and I think also made everybody go, oh, yeah, you guys don't want this to happen either. To me, it was a wonderful meeting. There's actually a great archive, if you will, or a great report of it from, I think, MB News, the Fratellos, that had like, all the information that was presented, which was so helpful. So kudos to everybody. I just had to say that. I don't know what you call it, but it was wonderful.
Well, we try to call them a front lawn meeting, Madam Mayor, but that would be a really large lawn for this one.
Which there's some in Manhattan Beach, not too many, but that was great. So thank you.
No,
So
I
thank you.
very much appreciate that.
No.
Thank you.
Councilmember Franklin.
Yes, so I want to echo that as well. Very well attended, very attentive, great questions. They got through all the questions that were
Yeah.
submitted. And then it was followed up by a presentation by Neighborhood Watch, which is equally important, as we heard time and time again. Let us know when you see something, that looks out of order there in the neighborhood. See something, say something. So building up the Neighborhood Watch to be more robust in that area is gonna help. Your item number 4, work plan item number 4, implementation of the community camera registration project. Do you have an idea? I mean, you're obviously seeing more and more home camera?
Yes, certainly,
security
as the
systems?
technology has improved and it's become more accessible financially for more residents, we see a lot more cameras and not only do we see more cameras at residences, we see residents with numerous cameras. And so the Fusus software allows us, it's not just telling us I have a camera and this is where I live. It allows you to choose, with a purchase of a software adapter, it allows you to choose which cameras that you could share with the police all the time.
Yeah.
And so we have it piloted at a few businesses around the city right now, just seeing how it works, kicking the tires a little bit before we roll it out more robustly across the community. But it's something that would allow us to see things in real time if we were at a residence or somewhere where they had a business where they had their cameras registered. It's all about what the community member or that business owner decides to share with the police department. So if you have 130 cameras and you only want us to see 3, that's a choice you can make.
Well, that's great. So a thought came to mind is maybe perhaps we can work on using our Reach Manhattan Beach app to facilitate that kind of registration, or at least, disseminating of information, because we're getting a lot more activity on the Reach the Beach app. And perhaps we can register your camera.
Oh, we do have camera registration on the city's website, which is a little bit different than the Fusus project. And once we go live with the Fusus project, we'll come back to council to talk about it, because there's a financial component for folks to buy an adapter to share their items with. And so it's not as seamless as clicking a link and accepting
I
this
understand,
information.
but,
But certainly, that's an idea we can examine.
Yeah, but Reach the Beach, this is where they're interacting with the police department.
Right.
With homeless outreach, graffiti, well, not necessarily graffiti, because that goes to Public Works, but people's awareness everywhere I go. We always talk about it.
Certainly.
And in fact, at that very same meeting, sort of at the end, I spoke about use Reach Manhattan Beach.
They
So
said, but didn't the police say there, but don't do police stuff that way?
Yeah.
Because they said that's not an effective way. The police won't see it if you use that.
well, but nuisance type of things, and the like. Anyway, the
I
point
just wanted to
being
clarify, yeah.
is the app is being used by more and more residents, so maybe just keep that in mind
Certainly.
when you're rolling this out, is people are in a hurry, they want to get it done.
Well, definitely, it's definitely a consideration that we'll have, but like due to the nature of Fusus, it may, like in developing an interface, it may not be something we can lift off, but it's certainly something we will consider.
Yeah.
Point. Okay, any other comments or questions? From you or from anyone else?
Yeah,
Oh,
I have a real quick one.
okay.
Got to get my mic on. Chief, your notable accomplishments, the increased bicycle patrol team, I think did wonders this summer, and just seeing visibly out there with just positive optics. I know it's important to the community. It's so important to a lot of the residents. So just wanted to give a shout out for that one.
Thank you. We're very proud of the work that Officer Weibel and Officer Order did over the first 6 months. They were just really out there crushing it for us, quite frankly. That's a technical term. Crushing it for us, and just doing an excellent job, not only just being visible, but also conducting just a ton of enforcement as well.
Thank you.
And public relations.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Excellent. All right. Interim Chief Lang. Nice to see you, sir.
Thank you. Good evening, Council. Mike Lang, again, I'm Fire Chief. I get the privilege of being your fire chief and representing the men and women of the fire department. So, excuse me, our noble accomplishments this year are, I'm sorry, I got that.
Just breaks you up, I know.
There we go.
You didn't do ice cream cones?
We didn't do ice cream cones, but we did a ton of good work. Not to reiterate what our HR director said, we did do a ton of hiring, and we couldn't have done that without their help and the tremendous lift that they did of just recruiting and getting them on board for us. Once they got them on board, the 8 new firefighters, paramedics we hired, it's the largest class that we've ever hired, so it's a big lift to get those people in through an 8-week training academy and then get them on the floor and start their probationary manuals and start. And so as of today, they're all doing wonderful, assimilating into the department really, really well, so we're really proud about that. We adopted our local hazard mitigation plan, and that went so well that the state and our contractor that we assisted us are using as an example for other cities. So we should be very proud about that as well. Not only did we meet our state mandates by 100% for the second year in a row, this past year in 24, we were able to complete all of our inspections with 100%. So that reassures our businesses and our multifamily dwellings that they are safe and that people can feel safe being in those facilities. And something that we're super proud of is our deployment of our Rescue 22 out of Station 2. Not only serves the east side of town, but the whole city, better serving our paramedic and transporting patients to the hospital. But it also visions forward to the things we're going to see coming up with the World Cup, the Super Bowl, the Olympics, and the foot traffic and the crowds we're going to see. That gets us better prepared for those situations as well. Some of the work plan items we're working on internally with all that staff, actually since I've been with the city a little over 3.5 years, out of 40 employees, I've either promoted or hired 35 of them. So that tells you how much movement we've had, how much. So we're really concentrating on staff development and succession planning and getting the next career people ready and moving up through the organization. We're continuing to ensure that we meet LA County's EMS agency's standards. And again, another highlight that we just got notice last week that we got 100% compliance on our audit for 2024. So something to be very proud about from EMS side of the house. And some of our goals is now that we're kind of leveling, get the right people in place and working with our communication team is really getting a social media presence out there and really marketing the things we are doing, getting more involved in the community. We're going to be partnering hopefully with the school district soon to get a sidewalk CPR class going, so something we can get all the kids in our school district, do some other events down at the pier and hometown fair and other events, really to get out in the public and do that. And hopefully in the second quarter of this year, we'll get our Community Connect program or app out and running, so the community can get involved and tell us more about your house and if you have a Heidi key and who lives there, if you have an elderly person living in the house. So some really good things coming up down the road. We're really continually monitoring the success of our paramedic program, the second rescue we did implement with your approval. And so just in 3 months into it, we've seen prior to having the second rescue, we were using a private contractor roughly 20 to 30 times a month. Those numbers are down to once or twice a month. So it's a huge success. And we got to think it towards the end of this fiscal year, we'll see the cost recovery benefits of that as well. And then, much like our PD partners, we're really working hand in hand with RCC so we can see a good, solid implementation of the new CAD program and making that work on our side as well with our RMS. And some of the goals that we have or things we're really going to focus on is, like I said, the local hazard mitigation went well. So the next step of that is our emergency operation plan. We're kicking that off. In fact, our emergency preparedness administrator is doing that currently. So we're hoping to have that same success that we did with our local hazard mitigation plan. Something that I'd like to see accomplished before I leave is we're transferring all our policies, updating our policies into electronic form into Lexipol and really get that solidified. And then the last thing that I'd like to see is really getting the staff again in being part of a smooth transition so when the new fire chief is brought on. With that being said, if you have any questions.
All right, colleagues? Any questions, concerns, comments?
Bravo. Thank you, Chief,
Yeah.
for everything you're doing.
Truly. Councilwoman Tarnay.
I saw that in the notable accomplishment, you didn't list the amazing work that you all did in, helping fight the Palisades fire, and that was huge. I mean, I think our city really, our fire department just really showed up and did everything that was necessary to help those folks, including my brother-in-law, whose house is still standing, and we think largely, we think it's because of the Manhattan Beach fire and El Segundo fire, and they were stationed
Really?
on Waycrest in Sunset Mesa area. So thank you for that, for
Wow.
the Palisades community, and from me as well. Thank you.
Thank you for acknowledging that, because our guys did go above and beyond. Normally, we can send one engine and probably a chief or so. But we were able to staff a second engine and send it out because of our local communities and really partnering and helping our local cities. So thank you for the acknowledgement.
Thank you for, that's really great that you said that. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh, wait, Councilmember Franklin.
I just wanted to mention something as well. Congratulations on the local hazard mitigation plan. In relation to the fire that happened up there, that plan has a lot of mitigation information that we should all be, aware of and utilizing right here at home. It's well laid out, how to prevent, damage from wildfires and the like. And so it goes on for several pages with a lot of detail, and it's very appropriate and very timely for our residents. So thank you and your department for the hard work on that.
And this all triggered something for me, is that you talked about you're going to be working on the emergency operations update plan. And I do think, I've read that communication is one of those things that when you are looking at emergency operations is so important. There's a certain way you communicate to the public. There's all these things. And I thought our city did a good job during the Palisades and Eaton fire, because people here in our community had questions like, can we drink the water? Because there'd be these notifications that went out, don't drink the, LA water, but our water came from someplace else. And so just be aware of those kinds of things that may not seem like, well, we're not in an emergency situation, we don't need to communicate out. But again, when you think of the end users, they may want to know. Like right now, people will ask me, well, how do we know there's water in our, hydrants, right? So I don't have to put you on the spot right now, but when you think about your social media campaigns, think about that, because people are going to be thinking about those questions for a long time. But do we have water in our hydrants?
We have water and hydrants, and we are consistently communicating with our Public Works Department.
Great.
We know days in advance if they are working on hydrants, so we don't have that communication problem.
And that's wonderful, and you might want to, that would go a long way right now for folks. Like, people want to know that kind of stuff. So, thank you.
Well taken, or no take. Thank you. Thank you.
Terrific.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, Miguel. Information technology, bringing it home.
All right. Well, good evening, Honorable Mayor, Council members. Miguel Guardado, IT Director. I'm proud to be here today and talk about our accomplishments throughout the year. I just want to state that while IT does not have specific work plan or council work plans, we support the departments that do. And as you saw, there's a lot of technology that goes on in this organization. And it's one of the things that drew me to this organization was the technology that you guys are implementing and continue to implement. And now I'm a part of that implementation. So with that, a notable accomplishments for this last year, we upgraded our primary internet connection. And this is super important, especially as we start pulling towards the clouds with our data and with our information. We have a lot of systems that rely on the cloud, our M365, our public safety systems that that are being implemented are all cloud-based, and so the faster the pipe, the faster that connection is going to come in. But then there's also another effect, as the chief mentioned. We're doing these testings with FUSIS and things of that nature. That also takes up broadband, right? And so, we're setting up our organization for success and our departments for success as they bring these projects forward. So that's one of our notable accomplishments. Another one was the upgrade to this audio video broadcast technology and basically all the technology that you see here. Now, what you see here is just the nameplates, the monitors, the buttons that you struggle with sometimes, things of that nature. But the bulk of the system is actually in that back room. And that's really where all the magic happens, if you will. I mean, a lot of magic happens at this dais, yes, I'm not going to deny that. But, but the technology in the background is what is allowing us to produce a good production for our citizens, right? And like, I'm not going to, there's a couple issues with a couple cable providers that we're working with, but for all intents and purposes, this project is complete. We're still hammering out a couple of the bugs that are tied to the legacy software that was not upgraded as part of that system. But for all intents and purposes, this upgrade is complete. Also, we upgraded our geographical information systems. So this is our GIS environment, and so this is becoming more and more important. As the chief mentioned, that the calls for service map is built on that infrastructure. It's going to allow us to do even more of that type of work for any department that wants to put a public face to a map or anything of any value to our citizens. So parking, anything like that, we'll be able to do it on the fly with this new technology. And this upgrade also allowed us to put in a more robust environment for the city.
Yeah.
And our fourth accomplishment this year, I think, is one that, as I look around and I look at my colleagues working, they're all collaborating, and it's because we've implemented tools such as M365, right? And the collaboration tools that came behind that infrastructure, right? And so it's more than just email or putting email in the cloud. It's bringing collaboration tools such as Teams, Planner, To Do, OneDrive, which allows us to collaborate in better space. It gives us a form of redundancy if we do have an issue with our internet, right? We can do it from home because we're not relying on the internet here. I'm super proud of that project. It was a two-phase project here in the beginning, and now we're expanding into phase 3, which is basically the SharePoint and enhancing some of the other collaboration tools that are part of that package.
It's a different world, isn't it? I mean, it really is.
I think it is. I think it's a great world to be in right now.
No, it's great. We didn't have to worry about how we collaborated before.
Yeah, and so this next slide, we're going to dive into our department work plans. But before doing that, I did something a little bit different. I'm actually putting on top of this our top priorities for the department, right? And so that would be security, data protection for business continuity and disaster recovery. The other one would be digital transformation and innovation, and also enhanced digital civic engagement. And, as I was sitting on the back row and listening to all the projects that are coming or that we're talking about doing, this ties a lot into what my colleagues in their departments want to do, right? And again, I see our department as being a partner for getting this done. And so with that, we're looking at doing, I'm going to combine those first two items, which is implementing modernized technology infrastructure, which is our servers, storage, and network, and continue implementing cybersecurity initiatives, right? I don't think, there will never be a time when I'm not up here saying we have to do more with cybersecurity. I'm giving you that heads up now because it's just something that is constant, right? And so with that, business continuity is so important, right? And it could be, as we saw our neighboring agencies or other cities in the LA area, with the fires. What would we do if we were impacted by a major disaster of that nature, right? And so for me, that's making sure that our systems that we rely on a daily basis, financial, payroll, intergov systems, all those systems are available in the cloud in some way, shape, or form, right? So that we can continue to deliver services for our residents. The other one is I'm going to combine the enhance, replace city enterprise applications and just say that with enhanced a digital presence, which basically states that, bringing services that would benefit that benefit our residents, right? And so IT will partner with all departments to research, implement, and support e-government initiatives. So these are some of the things that we heard earlier that the departments want to do. Be more forward-facing, get more information that's to the public. I'm a firm believer in transparency, and how do we do that in a way that is attainable, that reaches the goals of what the resident wants, but us still protecting our systems, right? And so that's where my department comes into play to say, this information is available and it's available in this fashion. And so, I believe that this transparency and service delivery will add value both to the organization and to the community as a whole. And then, last but not least, we have an IT strategic plan. That strategic plan was approved and adopted in January of 2015. So it's a little bit dated, and so I want to spend some time with my department to go ahead and realign our technology initiatives with the goals of the organization to make sure that they're in parity. Because there's nothing worse than making bad investments in technology when we don't know where we're all heading, and I want to get us all on the same page so that we all get to the same location. Now, with these work plan items, they'll provide increased operational efficiency and enhanced customer experience, resulting in better quality of life and more streamlined government service delivery. So with that, that concludes my presentation, and I'm available for any questions that you might have.
Thank you. I pressed the button to speak first. I bet my colleagues are going to say similar things, but maybe not. I want to say, wow. Since, let's see, was 2011 when we were so much younger. Our technology department has changed the most in terms of scope and scale, and as it should, and I feel like you are really showing how integral it is to, the entire community, but also, and the organization, but also it's not just machines and buttons. It's how people collaborate. It's how can we enhance transparency? How can we enhance engagement? And I am just so impressed with how you are approaching it. And I just want to thank you and call that out.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
You're so welcome. Councilmember, or Mayor Pro Tem Lesser.
Miguel, I wanted to pick up on your discussion of the implementation of our upgraded system and putting more and more data in the cloud, and ask in the sense of resiliency, particularly in preparation for disaster. We've experienced the fires, but Acting Community Development Director Heiss and I joined the seismologist Lucy Jones to see the Newport Inglewood fault. And basically the takeaway for me, it's not if, it's when, and moreover, this is a far more serious likelihood of generating a large quake than the dreaded San Andreas fault. So I wanted to better understand what is our backup for accessing all of our data in the clouds? Should that be a dedicated work plan item, greater resiliency, or is that par and parcel of what you're already working on in modernizing our system?
It's part and parcel to what I'm already doing with the organization. I've spoken with Colleen about disaster recovery for this organization. And, there's things called disaster recovery as a service, which means that our environment here is basically going to be mimicked, if you will, in the cloud. So if something were to happen here today, right now, it's called return to operation is the term RTO, which basically means how quickly can our restore points and our backups that we have in the cloud bring us back into service. And so depending on the model that we approach, and it could be, there's a myriad of ways, but the way that I'm trying to look at this is there's zero downtime, right? And so I think that people think that technology that I can restore from a backup, and that backup could be 24 hours old. I could have missed 24 hours worth of information, right? And so I'm trying to find that happy medium between restore points throughout the day to minimize the impact. And so to answer your question, I am looking to taking systems up into the cloud so that if City Hall was not habitable, we would be able to just send people home and VPN and link up into those systems, bypassing the systems that are here at City Hall.
Let me ask the question a different way. What Dr. Jones indicated is that we all should plan for not just days, but potentially weeks of lacking electricity, lacking basic infrastructure, water, and the likes, and obviously fire is the greatest concern. But I just want to better understand what the best practice is to be able to access all that data, given the ever greater dependency that we have for our most basic functions of government that are going to be based on the data that's going to be, and the programs in the cloud.
Can you produce electricity is what he's asking.
Yeah, I mean, it's our data center that I'm looking at is actually in Phoenix, Arizona. So I mean, if it's that big of an issue, then we have bigger problems, right? But it's the data centers. We would put it out there. It would be up to the user that's going to connect to have power at their home, right? And that's something I can't control. But then that's where, you know, you go to a different part of the area, or you go to a library at another location to connect in and connect to those systems. Did that answer that question?
Mostly. Obviously, fiber is relatively resilient, but with the sort of quakes that's predicted to be a question of connectivity
I would like
at all.
to say that, you know, we're going to have to look to the stars at some point, right? To look at like Starlink and things of that nature that is happening. And, you know, a lot of the phone carriers right now are actually moving to that model of bringing in Starlink as a form of service, and something that I am looking at. And what would that look like, and what would the cost be, and who should have it, right? It should be a few key roles in the city to have it in case, like you said, fiber's cut, there's no power, there's no anything, but you still have a cell phone and could get an internet connection through the cloud, or through space.
That's great. Thank you. Councilmember Sherillian.
Thank you, Miguel. Well done. Just a departmental work plan item with the cybersecurity initiatives. I just want to, you know, compliment all the work and effort you and your team are putting forth to make sure that staff is educated, city council, everybody, all users are educated and continually educated, and not just periodically. So I appreciate that. I just wanted to ask if the two-factor authentication is now up and running and live.
It is working for M365. We are working on a project with our public safety partners right now as well. But yes, we do have two-factor. If you're using the cloud, you have two-factor authentication enabled on your system.
Great, thank you.
Councilmember Franklin.
Yes, to follow up on Mayor Pro Tem Lesser, is there a recommendation of equipment we should have in our home in case of, I mean, I'm just imagining, you know, in the middle of what we just experienced up in the Palisades and the like, and is there something that we should be doing, a battery backup, a solar battery backup, you know, Starlink, that kind of thing? So.
Yeah, I mean, I think what I would do, I would almost partner with, I hear that there's a conversation coming up for preparedness of disasters and things of that nature, and maybe we could put something together for that makes sense. There's a lot of stuff out on the market right now, but not everything's going to fit the bill for everybody, right? And so I think it would be more prudent to put a little bit more thought into it and provide like some recommendations and maybe put it as part of that project.
And for all the department heads as well.
Yeah, exactly.
To have at their homes.
Our residents, and you know, 5 years ago when we planned for emergencies or recommended to people for emergencies, we weren't envisioning the emergencies that actually have happened, you know, and so and there's new technology and there's new stuff, so we're working on that. That's something I like to focus on. All right, thank you. Fantastic job.
Thank you.
So I do see there's. Let's see. It says that City Council consensus obtained for inclusion on new work plan items or carry forward. We're on carry forward. Go ahead. Sorry, I jumped ahead.
Since you basically already went through the process of providing direction, just any items you didn't mention will be that you didn't provide direction, and we will carry forward.
Okay.
And then Any of the new items, we're going to go ahead and develop those for the city council work plan.
Talked about.
And if council would like, I could provide a recap of the changes that you provided tonight, if you'd like.
There were, I think we just come back with that.
Okay.
One thing I'd like to suggest, you know, I don't know what my colleagues think, and I don't know why it bothers me so much, but what do you think about changing the name of City Council Work Plan to City Council Priorities? Because again, it's like it's our area of focus, but we're not doing the work. It confuses me. Is there thoughts about that or discourse?
I guess to you, Mayor, are you aware of other cities that have that designation instead of work plan? Because I
Most.
just wonder if work plan isn't more of a common reference point.
Work plan is
Explain what it is.
usually a staff. Work plan, so I've done them for like 4 other cities and myself, but work plan is usually what the staff does. What the council usually does is either through a strategic session, once every 3 or 4 years, create priorities, and then sometimes the priorities change. But the work plan is how you carry out those priorities.
May I make a suggestion? I'm open to this change. I just would rather not do it off the cuff. I'd rather just have a little more information, maybe what other cities do, maybe pros and cons, even though this is not a big wow, and I hope not a whole lot of staff time goes into this, but I'm open to it. I just hesitate off
Let
the top.
let me propose this idea. I mean, and we don't have to have consensus on this now, and I appreciate that. I mean, we can look at different ways to word it, and it doesn't really matter. I don't want to spend staff time on how we word it. But is this council interested at some time in the future creating a strategic planning process where we, you know, discuss what our priorities, our long-term priorities going forward may be, you know, and, you know, it would have something like, you know, there'd be values that we would have, like public safety, fiscal conservancy, you know, clean streets, whatever, and then we could have strategic plan stuff. Are people interested in exploring that? Not necessarily, maybe we'd have staff come back to us and say, this is the proposal we would go with, or how we would propose to do that, but are people interested in that kind of a process?
I think it'd be redundant to what we're doing already. I mean, it just seems like extra work.
Okay.
We're covering all that subject matter, so.
Well, okay. I mean, all right. That's okay. Anyone else?
I'm receptive to the process. I think we are due for an update. I actually launched back when I was the delegate to the South Bay City's Council of Governments years ago. I launched that process there. My concern is our staff is overwhelmed with projects. There is limitation in staff time, and even if we contracted this out, I would just be wary of adding yet another obligation on their plate at this
well
time.
said.
So that's
Well,
my concern.
Yeah, and I don't think we have to do it anytime soon. I mean, we could plan to do one like next January or something, you know, so that it's, the reason it wouldn't, I'm not saying it so that we would come up with new projects for them, but it would help us. What is it that drives us? You know, is it, you know, we're all serving the public, but is it new buildings? Is it public safety? Is it the environment? Is it savings? Is it, you know, small children crossing the street? I don't know, you know, but like we don't ever do something overarching and big. We just say, oh, there's a problem. Okay, let's do that. Right. And that's sort of, you know, and so a work plan to me also is staff saying, this is what we're doing. This is our capacity. This is what we spend 90% of our time doing. Right. Council priorities are those extra 10%. Hey, we'd like to talk about the Olympics. Hey, we'd like to do this. That's the extra 10. So we don't have to. We don't have to agree or not agree now. I've planted the seed. We could talk about it later or not. How's that? Okay? All right. And with that, any other comments or questions?
Excuse me. I do,
Yeah.
Your Honor. We heard tonight over 100 departmental work plans. We have about over 20 city council priorities. Just again, wanted to compliment staff for all the efforts that they put forth, just so we don't forget anyone. This is a lot of work. I think Mayor Pro Tem said it well. There's a lot of work out there, and you guys are doing a great job getting it done for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any other comments? All right, so with that, let me see if I'm supposed to adjourn it to sometime. Hold on. It's all very technical. No, I just have a blank adjournment to 5 o'clock on Tuesday, the March 4th. Thank you, I couldn't hear. Okay, so at this time, I will adjourn the meeting to 5 o'clock on Tuesday, March 4th.